spook easily, Stone.
Have you ever explored the depths of fear? Have you ever wondered what depravity dwells within the imagination of a storyteller that prompts them to exhume horrors untold and expose those horrors to unsuspecting audiences? Some are repulsed, and some are shaken. However, there are those who are invigorated. So to those demented souls, we invite you to journey inward into the dark bowels of human imagination. Press play, and you will discover what's in the podcast.
Our program is a two-pronged treatment outside Mexico City. The results have been stunning.
She saved my life.
What happens then?
Your whole life happens then. John Kramer.
According to these scans, the tumor was never removed.
How much time do I have?
Months, at best.
Hello, everyone. It's time to play a game. You all pretended to cure me, but what I have planned for each of you is very real. The only thing I have not provided is your anesthetic. But trust me, you will want to remain alert. This is not retribution. It's a reawakening.
And welcome back to this edition of What's in the Podcast, Legacies of Fear. We are finally, at least until Saw 11 comes out, wrapping up our breakdown of the Saw franchise. It has been a fantastic road. I've been having a blast doing this. And if you are watching it right now, we have donned our garb for this special occasion to honor the film, which pretty much everyone is under agreement has revitalized the Saw franchise, Saw X. And I kind of wanted to just leave it as its own one episode because there's a lot to break down on it. And we just adore this. And also, I couldn't do it alone. I had to do it with my dear friend Emily, who has now donned the greatest wig of all time in their Amanda Young gear. So how's it going?
Oh, it's wonderful to be back, and I'm glad we've finally come to this movie that we can discuss together. And I appreciate that I've brought you into the love of this franchise, and you got to don your John Kramer with me and gifted me this incredible wig.
Yeah, that wig. I remember it's such an odd choice. I mean, Amanda Young's had like a bunch of interesting hairstyles throughout the run of it, but it's like, why that one?
I heard recently when I was at Horror Fest a theory that it was, which there is some truth to it, I believe, with your theory about John and Amanda's relationship, is that this was a way for him to make her like his son.
Oh, okay, that's a bit creepy.
Yeah, it's a bit creepy.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that. I'm just going to chalk it up to, cut it short so she wouldn't be pulling her hair out from withdrawal symptoms.
It's possible.
I'll take it. I'll take that. I'll take that. I mean, I just saw Smile
why'd
too.
they cut her bangs like this? Like, dude, she looks so great in 2. Why didn't they let her keep her bangs in that sweet punk hairstyle?
Yeah, that sweet, crazy
Why the
punk
bowl
hair.
cut?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, and I want to say that there might have been one point in the flashbacks where I thought I saw Amanda with that hair, or at least something resembling that hair. So
There is. It's the it's her inauguration when she's like going out to get Adam. They're in that room covered in candles.
Oh,
It's the background of my phone actually, where he's standing above her, and says, your past doesn't matter. Everything you are is now me. And it's this like kind of an initiation. She has a hairstyle like this, but it is fluffier, which is I think would have saved the hairstyle a little bit if they had fluffed it up a little bit more and made it look less gross.
Oh yeah, it's fun that that of all things to talk about this movie, that's the first thing we have to fix. It's just the hair. But
hasn't she even commented on it, being like, I don't know why.
Fortunately, we did not ask her about that when we met Shawnee. We were just like, we were just too busy gushing about the fact that Saw X is not only a great Saw movie, it's a freaking great movie. Though one that very hilariously, and I'm sure you agree with this, instead of treating John Kramer and Amanda as villains, they are the kind of anti-heroes
Yeah.
of this particular movie.
Mhm.
But I think deep down in our hearts, they always were.
Sure.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
always kind of, yeah. So so no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Let's go ahead and just get right into the nitty gritty. What is the synopsis of Saw X?
So Saw X takes place between 1 and 2. And basically it starts off with John coming out of the CAT scan. His cancer is running rampant, and he's really trying to find a solution to it, even if it means doing unconventional treatment, which, as we learned in
Saw 6.
6, his insurance will not cover no matter what.
Mhm.
So he has to kind of go off the grid a little bit and try to seek treatment off the books. So he learns of a doctor in what is the original country?
Norway.
Norway, who's doing
Yeah.
some incredible experimental treatment to help people with their inoperable
Yeah.
cancers,
Yeah.
which he learns about through a it's like a group.
Yeah, a support group. Yeah, he ends up seeing him down the line. He thought he probably died, but he sees him down the line, and he says that, "Oh yeah, I had this miracle treatment, and you see my
Yeah.
surgery scar,"
Hmm.
kind of thing. Well, it puts him on, and so Jigsaw researches and finds uh, that the scientist's daughter, Cecilia, is running a clinic on her father's behalf in order to cure inoperable diseases
In Mexico.
in
So
Mexico.
he when she contacts him, she's like, "Yeah, we can get you in a couple of months," and he doesn't have a couple of months, which that continuity doesn't make
Yeah.
sense, but that's okay.
Well, John Kramer's cancer doesn't make sense
Sure.
in terms of like how long. They keep saying he either has it like a year or he has a couple months, or sometimes he's like less than that. And like,
It's always a race against time, but he still lives on for several years after this movie.
it's like it's like the studio execs are negotiating with John Kramer's cancer, like going, listen, we want the franchise to go a bit longer. Can you like
Yeah, pat it
slow
out a
down a
little
bit,
bit.
pat it out? Kind of thing.
But we
God, I'm
also
so
have to have this like race against time, so we have to make it like he's gonna die in a couple of months if he doesn't get this treatment, so we have to make a plot happen.
He goes to Mexico to get this to meet Cecilia Peterson in order to get this treatment, and well,
Which
he
at this
gets
point, I don't believe John knows it's a scam.
no, because well, and I will say this, they do well. There's a hint that her father's treatment is legit, and he's even
Sure.
gone on television to talk about the treatment.
Hmm.
So her father's treatment is apparently legit. It's just the fact that she is not.
Okay.
She is
Yeah.
very clearly not. She is in all likelihood probably just a hangers-on, just probably like a leeching daughter who just knows how to sell a really good con.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she sells a really good
Hmm.
con.
So they've
Yeah.
got a whole clinic there. It's a whole setup. She's got a whole crew helping her out. It looks legit.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
even has to get like kidnapped in order to get to this clinic because it's so like underground.
Yeah, and they even the thing is they do sell the con really really well. I can even understand why John Kramer would fall for it because
Hmm.
A, he's desperate, but B, all the all the rationale is there. And I've heard of this where a lot of times clinics with experimental treatments have to go off the grid because big pharma obviously will
Hmm.
sabotage them, and also because the FDA, it is technically illegal because it's that the treatments aren't approved by any sort by the World Health Organization or even the Food Drug the FDA. So yeah, it's understandable why they would have to do this, and they're selling the illusion pretty damn well.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, and in the midst of it, he ends up making the acquaintance of a man named Parker Sears, who is another patient. He will become important later on. But in a heartbreaking scene, John Kramer finds out he's been had.
Hmm. He
Yeah.
shows back up to show his thanks and to give the gift of Cordigo, which I have now displayed because it's the Sa tequila.
How expensive is it?
It's gone down in price since the movie came out. Reposado, which is what's in the movie, is about $60 a bottle. It's not terrible.
Is it actually good?
It's a smooth tequila. I'm not a big fan of just chugging tequila, but if you are a fan of tequila, it's very smooth.
Nice. Yeah. I was intrigued. I was like, well, if it's like a high-end tequila, I'm pretty sure it's way better than
I
just like
have Blanco, which is a little less expensive.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you can get less expensive versions. But most like bars you'll find it there. We usually do shots of it. Actually, I did a shot of it at Dragon Con because my friend brought it with him.
Oh.
That's now like our traditional. We gotta take a shot at Cadigo because the Saw tequila.
Yeah.
It's the
So
weirdest like sponsorship that's definitely in this movie that I've not seen in any other like Saw movie,
yeah.
where they're just like, it's a really good tequila. I'm gonna get it as a gift and I'm gonna bring it to them, and then he ends up throwing it against the wall when he finds out he's been had.
Oh yeah. $60 down the drain.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like that. But then again, this is Mexico, so I'm pretty sure he paid in pesos. So
Probably.
probably, hopefully.
Yeah.
So he ends up able to find time in his busy trap making schedule to set up a uh actually I'll give it to the production design on this. This actually does feel like a piecemealed uh setup that obviously he had to do like on the quick
Yeah.
because instead of like having separate rooms for each people or everything, it's all happening very focused in one centralized location with all the perpetrators of the scam all in the same room with each other as it's going down. So
And it was the room that he so supposedly had his surgery in, so it's very poetic that it's like this is where the scam took place and this is where your
yeah,
game takes place.
it's oddly perfect. Yeah, this is like I said, I wonder if this was the script that these returning screenwriters, Goldfinger and Stolberg, the screenwriters were working on before they opted to do Spiral instead. I'm wondering if this was the script they were working on. And with that, you get the feeling that maybe they have had the time to really flesh out this script. Yeah, of course, Tobin Bell's back, Shawnee Smith is back, and I know that in behind the scenes photos or videos, they sang praise onto this one, saying like this is one that they really got a chance to sink their teeth into on
Mhm.
a on an acting level because yeah, from experience, actors like having really good material to sink their teeth into, and they've always said if the script is good, the actor doesn't have to do a lot of work.
Yeah, if the script is good and if your acting partner kind of plays ball with you, you kind of which they've been working together since, 3. They
Yeah,
they had some screen time together, but this is the first one they've actually had like a whole movie to work
whole scenes
together.
together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is easily the actor's piece of the Saw franchise. And I remember when and again, people have followed the podcast and like this was like the big lighting the fire under my ass to finally sit down and watch all the rest of the movies. It all
Mhm.
came to Saw X. And
Yeah.
man, that was easily the best way to get into the franchise. Just binge all that stuff and then just come to the theater and come see a Saw movie. And the theater I went into was pretty well packed. Actually, it was a really
Mhm.
well attended screening, and everyone was in it. Everyone was roaring. Everyone was applauding. So, how was your screening?
It was pretty much the same. I went opening night in costume, of course, and just it was just positive energy in the theater, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, it was
Which
such
which
good.
I'd never seen with like a Saw movie, probably since 1, maybe 2, but I was so young when I saw those movies. I was like, this is the first time I'm like adult me got to see it in theaters with a whole group
Yeah.
of people.
I think there was such a wonderful. Yeah, there is just that sublime energy, and I'm pretty sure. I think I remember an applause. I remember an applause at the very end of it. I
Yeah,
think, yeah,
same.
yeah, I think it got one. So,
And
well,
then
if
there was another one for the after credit scene, so
Oh yeah, well we'll get to that in a bit. So so when I walked out of the theater, I was awash in emotions. So I mean, I assume you were the same.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I said, it's the first time I got to like, see it in theaters, and not only that, it's a glorious movie. From
Hmm.
what from what the Saw franchise has been through, it felt good to get back to this.
Yeah. Yeah, this actually beyond that, this one actually really felt like it was not just interested in being a Saw movie. It really felt like it was, and I don't want to say this to diminish the other movies, but this one really was interested in being a movie with like an actual arc that's not interested in, fulfilling a soap opera narrative. Like this seemed
Hmm.
like it wanted to be a centralized movie focused on just this moment right here and now
Yeah.
kind of
Yep.
thing.
That's
And
why it only like once the game starts, these are the only people you see. It doesn't jump. There's no cops that it's jumping to. It doesn't like take you out of the moment to focus on something completely different somewhere else, which maybe some people do like that, but I like this movie takes place in one room and it stays there.
yeah, and even more so, uh, going back to the angle of this turns John Kramer and Amanda into anti-heroes because
Mhm.
you are now, granted, just the fan in us are always pro Jigsaw just because we love them, just because we love seeing the mayhem they cause. But
Mhm.
this is the first time where I was like legitimately gave a shit about them. Like I actually was treating these characters as actual people.
Yep.
And because they do such a great job establishing the emotional stakes of this. I mean, the whole it's a slow burn to get. This is I think the second longest, or actually I think one of the longest Saw films.
It
I think this
is.
is
Yeah, it
about,
is the
yeah, it's about
longest.
2 hours exactly. But it doesn't waste time. It is focused
Mhm.
entirely on showing John's turmoil, why he's so hell bent to get this treatment. And even more so, it is crushing when you see that after he has the treatment and he's offered a sliver of hope that he's cured, and you actually see he's scrapping, he's actually drawing specs for the rack,
Yeah.
and he crumples it up, throws it away. It's like if these people had been legit and if they had actually succeeded, this could have saved so much pain
Mhm.
down the line if they had been legit. But there's
That
a
was
nice,
that was also kind of a cool thing that this movie did that I don't think any of the other ones really delved farther into. Him sketching and the opening trap of him imagining the vacuum, the eye vacuum. You
yeah,
got to really see how John Kramer thinks. You got to spend time with him, which every other movie, it's like bits and pieces. You get to see him working a little bit, flashbacks here and there, but you get to
yeah.
spend time with the character.
Exactly. And that was a fun way to sneak in a trap. Now, in prior
Hmm.
podcasts, we said how weird it is that Saw 7 had a dream sequence, but this one felt right because, yeah, you're right. It showed what, like, how John's brain works, where everywhere he looks, he's always formulating and he's always thinking about the next trap. So whenever he sees someone doing something he doesn't like, he's immediately going to be thinking, okay, what is it I'm going to do to this guy? In this case, I don't like what I see, so you're not going to see anything at all. And I'm going to mutilate your sticky fingers.
Yeah.
And obviously so potent is that I find it funny that that is the trap that is the poster of the movie.
It's the poster, and it was like the teased trap. I avoided all spoilers for this movie, but people were trying to show you the scene 100%. I
Yeah.
was like, stop, stop. I don't want to see it before the movie, but it's like, oh, it was imagined, which is cool.
Yeah. And actually, I remember there was a nice bit of laughter from that. And even I laughed because I was like, nice way to sneak that in, because I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure you're gonna have the Saw fans are gonna be like, come on, let's get to the good stuff. But this one actually gave a nice little hors d'oeuvre.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. Because
Just
after that, it's like there's a lot going on between then and when the kidnappings start, where it's like, okay, you gotta keep the audience intrigued somehow. So let's let's throw in this scene that isn't really happening.
yeah. And again, it doesn't feel gratuitous. It feels perfectly in keeping with the franchise. And yeah, just really helps us get into the understanding of how his mind, because yeah, you're right. We see him build the traps, but we never think about just what he does on a daily basis and just how yeah, he's the kind of guy who goes to a cafe out there and just has his little blueberry scone
Sketching.
and sketching. That's what he
Yeah,
does. Yeah, you feel really sad just at the second you find out the truth and everything. And when he takes off those bandages and finds out that he's been conned, it's
right.
so freaking crushing.
Which we're all waiting for because I think the trailer made it pretty obvious. That's
No,
not
the
a
trail.
twist. You know this was gonna happen.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, that is easily the trailer. Actually, that's the other good thing. The trailer in this case, it alludes to traps, but you never ever see precisely what the nature of the traps are aside from the eyeball. Even then, you look at the
Yeah,
poster and you can kind of guess the ebb and flow of what that thing's going to do.
sure.
Uh, but the trailer never shows at all what the other traps are, what they do, or anything like that. You just know that
You
Jigsaw's
know the
good.
plot and why this is happening.
Exactly. Exactly. But unlike uh, all the other Saw movies where the people in the trap scenario go on some kind of redemptive arc, or some of them, yeah, realize, oh God, I fucked up and I deserve to be here, kind of thing, like Saw 5.
Mhm.
In this case, the focus of his wrath, she is a
Yeah,
bitch.
this is definitely, I mean, he's had some victims in the past that like you deserve this.
Yeah,
Xavier from two, things like that, where they don't learn anything, they don't get any better, they don't grow as people. But Celia, they made her more psychotic than John and Amanda, and that was
yeah,
the point. She's
yeah.
psychotic.
She's cold.
Mm-hmm.
She's just nasty. I mean, she's actually, when we see her right before she gets captured, she's on the phone with yet another potential grift who's like, you could tell she's crying on the other side of the phone, calling her an angel, and just like, and she is just so, just the fact that someone is going to just outwardly lie to someone who, and is totally good with the idea that her machinations are, for all intents and purposes, killing people, and it's like,
Oh
that is
yeah.
just, she is nasty.
Which the
and
more the movie goes on, you see more about how just psychotic she is.
and even, and I love how, by having John and Amanda be the anti-heroes of this, there's some great moments. And I wish, there's a lot of deleted scenes in this movie, and some we've talked about in the past, but there's one where they get a lot deeper into um Cecilia basically saying, "Yeah, I know who you are, you're Jigsaw," and they actually have back and forths talking about, you're judging me. You're freaking judging me for what I do. And it's like, compared to what you do.
Yeah.
And it's one of the rare ones where, it's one of the times where we get the rare opportunity where Jigsaw actually gets to intellectualize with someone about their philosophies, about, who's the better person in this scenario.
Yeah. You're talking
Spoiler,
to me about morality, yeah.
yeah. Spoiler alert, John's the better person in this scenario.
Oh no, we had no
Oh
idea.
no, we had no idea. But I'm
Yeah,
sure,
yeah. So I think that's the first time where I'm like, people, oh, John Kramer's a killer. He's killing people. I'm like, do you really want Cecilia walking free out there? You want her continuing to do what she does? I think we'd be okay with the idea that she gets what she deserves here.
yeah, and actually, it's a nice little testament to the fact that they are legit in their endeavors to try to help people reform. I do love that John still sticks to his guns as far as his philosophy is
Yes.
that, yeah, Cecilia does deserve to die, but that's not how we do things. We,
Which is interesting to see his interaction with Amanda during this movie, because Amanda is both fuck that lady doctor, she doesn't deserve to live, and Gabriella I connect with, so I think she deserves more of a shot. She's
yeah,
very torn on the message, and he's trying to guide her into his way of thinking, but you can tell she's struggling with, like, what are we doing? And also,
yeah.
fuck that lady. Which
Yeah,
is
but
why I think people have come up with a theory that she actually has some DID going on in this movie between Amanda and the pig, because she
yeah,
goes back and forth from I have sympathy to I have zero sympathy,
yeah.
depending on who we're talking to.
Yeah, and actually, from what we talked about in the past, you do kind of see the little seeds of the Amanda we know who begins to start bestowing judgment on people as she sees fit.
Right.
It's, yeah. So and I was glad because I was like, good, we're seeing the little slivers of the fact that Amanda can't 100% commit because she has her own personal emotions towards people
Mm.
who abuse. Because another deleted scene, which it's like, why do you cut the good shit? Um, it's here where we find out that really gets find out about Amanda's history with her abusive father.
Yeah, they've cut two scenes now from the Saw movies that explains that her dad was a horrible monster who was abusive to kids and a drug addict and a criminal. They've cut that twice now from the movie. She explains in three to John that he used to lock her in a room under the stairs and leave her in the dark for hours, which gives her like kind of a fear of the dark. And
Mm-hmm.
in this movie, she tells Parker, who asks, "Is John your dad?" She goes, "No, my dad was a criminal. He was a drug addict and he abused kids." And that kind of explains a lot about her connection with John, as he's the father figure that she never had. He gave
Yeah,
her a chance when nobody in her life would.
yeah, and as we discover in this one, and oh, I just watched it again last night just for shits and gigs. But I cried again.
Yeah, dude, yeah.
I cried
You get to
again.
see such a connection,
Oh man.
which, and it's even more heartbreaking knowing we're going into three after this.
Well, going into two after this, and then into
Two,
three.
but we know
Yeah,
where this ends.
yeah, we know where this. Yeah, it's like I've said in the past. It's just so freaking hard now to think about where we're going, but just knowing that, and actually, and just at the end of that scene when they're embracing, and you could actually see John cry too. I was like, oh my god,
Mhm.
don't cry, don't cry. You cry, I'm gonna cry. You
No, he
cry,
has to,
Dad.
because if he didn't, it wouldn't be as emotional. You know
Yeah,
that even as somebody as stoic and some people might say cold as John, he has a connection to Amanda that's very deep.
yeah, because again, and this, as I said in the past, this is I think what fuels my theory that I think he knew all about Amanda's involvement in his unborn son's death. I think he
Mhm.
knew deep down, and I think the reason why he latches onto her in this moment, and why I think he feels what he feels, is that for all intents and purposes, she does kind of represent his greatest triumph.
Mhm.
You know, the fact that she's clean, the fact that she has a cause, the fact that she's loyal to the cause,
And
and
after
that,
he's gone, she will take over.
yeah. And like, I believe him when he says, "You are ready for this." Like, he actually said, like, she keeps saying, "I'm not ready for this." And he keeps like saying, "You
I can't
are."
do this without you because yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure especially that early on in her following of the message, it's got to be scary to be like, I don't want to lose you. You are the reason I'm here. You're the reason I'm
Yeah.
still alive.
And there's also just the thought of, she just got found this guy. She is connected with him. She is giving herself to him basically. And unfortunately, they both know that she won't have him for that long.
Yeah.
Like, the best thing she's had in her entire life, and it's on borrowed time.
Getting ripped away immediately, yeah.
All these things just kept racing through my head. Just, and this is why it was so great that I did the binge leading up to this, because all of it was still so fresh in my head,
Mhm.
getting up to
Same.
this moment and seeing, and just seeing the fact that the screenwriters and Kevin Kreider, the director, just took it upon themselves to say, no, there was more going on in this relationship that I think anyone really wanted to give credit to. But
Yeah.
this moment just,
Except for the fans, like man, I feel like this movie had more fan service than I think any of the other ones in the past. People were kind of worried, like, oh, I don't want them to mess up what like the fans have created behind the scenes in their own minds. And no, they did them justice. Like I
yeah,
know from my point of view, all the Amanda fans that I have followed on Instagram, they wanted to see more of John and Amanda's relationship because there was so much there that we didn't get to see because he had
yeah,
what one movie to talk about it, and he's
precisely.
bedridden the whole time and unconscious the whole time. Like we wanted to see what led from two to three and how we got that connection.
Yeah, so actually, that's a good lesson for any studio head who ever wants to know how you do fan service. Saw X is the way to do it, because this felt entirely right. It felt
Mhm.
like the right moment, the right place, the right situation to get into everything. And since I'm a babe in the woods, and you know better than me, so all the Amanda stands were all kind of looking for this moment specifically, or what were some other ones that people were gunning for? I mean, there wasn't any
I
shipping.
mean,
There wasn't any slash fiction, was
no.
there? No
No,
slash.
it's definitely a father-daughter relationship that they wanted to see more of, because to me at least, when you watch one, two, and three as its own isolated thing, by three, there's a lot of speculation that, she has Stockholm syndrome or she was falling in love with him or whatever. But the fans who delve deeper into her history know that it's more of a father-daughter thing,
Yeah,
especially because of these cut scenes that you learn about her history with parentals and her whole shitty history with pops and everything in her life. People who don't know all that are going to be like, oh, she was weirdly in love with this old man and she had Stockholm syndrome. But the fans were like, no, it's more of a he's her father, which is what
yeah,
she says. I found a father, a teacher, a mentor. So we wanted to see more of that to squash some of these dumb accusations of Amanda was just a weirdo who was into this old man.
yeah. And I mean, even though a lot of those scenes got cut, fortunately, I think what is there still does a great job
Mm-hmm.
hitting that home. Is that that's what this is about. I never got anything lewd or lascivious about this
No.
relationship because of, but that scene right there and then just said, this is what it is. It's the father-daughter relationship. I mean, and even then, just the fact that you see John cry in that scene as well
Yeah.
immediately tells me that is that John maybe feels a sense of, well, it's that idea that even though he says, yes, I'm dying, I'm about to die, but the fact that he actually, in that moment, actually realizes he does have something to lose when he goes. Because a
Well,
lot of,
that's the interesting thing about his attitude towards his death is he's trying to prepare Amanda for the fact that I will die. You have to come to terms with that. But at the same time, when people tell him you should just retire, and he says,
Mhm,
"And what, just die?" Like he's two sides about it. He wants to fight, but he also has to prepare her for the fact that this is not inevitable.
yeah,
Like I have to go eventually and you have to be ready for it. But there's the comment that she says that was cut was just like, well, you're just the old man who's just going to give up and die then. And it's like, no, he's fighting. He's doing what he can, but you have to understand that he's not eternal. at least not physically.
Yeah. And I also think that he just probably didn't anticipate that he was going to have a connection like this. Like to realize that in his endeavors to basically kind of just make a big, bold final statement before he goes, ultimately, he didn't realize that in his endeavors, he's going to find something that could have filled the gap of something that he lost a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
Which, yeah, I mean, that's again, it's a level of emotional complexity which I don't think the Saw films have ever gotten into until this point. And it's
Yeah.
just funny that they're doing it not with any of the hero characters that we've had over the course of the films, but with
Mhm.
our focal villains
Yeah.
in the
The
course of
cops
it.
come and go, these other apprentices come and go, but this solid group of people who were in the first films, that's where the story is, really.
Yeah. So because they set these emotional stakes so high, I think that's why when we get into, as the story progresses in this, especially with the machinations of Cecilia, and as we discover her co-conspirator Parker,
Mhm.
that's why we're definitely more on edge. Even though this is an interquel, which is the term interquel, and we know that Jigsaw's going to at least survive this
Mhm.
before getting killed by slow ass motherfucking Jeff. Before that bullshit. Um, we know he's going to survive this, but there's still a sense of peril. There is a sense of uh, high stakes. We still feel the stakes of this whole scenario because
Mhm.
ultimately we want to see this bitch pay. We want to
Yeah.
see Cecilia pay, and we don't like the idea that there's someone who could actually get one over on Jigsaw.
Hmm. Which
Yeah.
is, I think that's what we'll talk about at the end. Is this, there's a lot of firsts in this movie. Like the dream sequence was a first for me. Amanda throwing puns out there is like a first, where they
Yeah.
threw some random comedy into her character, especially who's never been funny before. But it kind of it gives her more of a depth in her personality of being like she's a little manic sometimes. She's got these
Yeah.
random like quips that she throws out there. And then another first is somebody put Jigsaw in his own trap. We've
Yeah.
never seen this before. But the
Oh
other
yeah.
thing is he's in the room the whole time. I mean, is there ever another movie where he's just hanging out with the trap the whole time?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean he's overseeing everything, and he's just, and a lot of times, they throw, actually there's one point where Gabriella throws away the tape recorder, and
Yeah.
he just goes on the
He's like,
loudspeaker.
no,
That's not gonna work.
you can't do that.
You can't do that. But another great thing about um Amanda in this is, yeah, I mean she's throwing puns out, but I like how she's doing it in a comforting way where she's actually trying to, I get the vibe that at this early stage of Amanda's apprenticeship, she actually is trying to help everyone
Hmm.
like survive. I mean, even with Valentina, she's doing the stupid, just keep your head, but it's still good advice. You have to keep on top of it. You can't
He
hesitate.
was
You can't.
speaking metaphorically. He does that a lot.
He does that, which he does. That's her way of saying, yeah, listen to everything he
Listen,
says.
yes.
Yeah, but listen to everything he says. It will all make sense.
Hmm.
Yeah, it all makes sense. But at the same time, it's like, listen, you will survive. You just have to, unfortunately, you have to just
He
not give
wants
in
us
to
to
fear.
survive this. It's very it does go into two like that too, where she's here to help, but you have to listen.
Yeah. I mean, Valentine, and this actually one of my grievances, as you might remember with some of the previous ones, where I was like, there is no way you're gonna have time to solve some of these. I
Yeah.
really liked especially with Valentina's trap, is like you see she is so close
Oh yeah.
to surviving
Oh,
her
that's
trap.
painfully close. My God.
And it's like, and if you actually go back and you watch like the trap as it kicks off, it's like if she didn't waste that first couple times
Mm-hmm.
like panicking and like
Mm-hmm.
freaking
Mm-hmm.
out, um, honestly, I think she could have made it just a couple seconds, and I think she would have made it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Which is probably the worst. It's not the first trap like that. There's plenty of traps in the throughout the series of Saw where they did what they were supposed to do, but they were just too late. So they had to go through the pain of whatever they were supposed to do, and they still died.
yeah, oh yeah, exactly. And I will say I watched the behind the scenes on how they did Valentina's, where she cut the leg off, and it's so cool, and it's just so cool to see them really, like the effect is great. It looks like nice, and it has exactly the way I would imagine someone's using a wire or a gili saw, as it's called,
Mhm.
to chop off their own leg. I mean, the effect looks so clean. It looks so
Oh God,
good.
and the sounds, I'm just like, oh God, cringy the entire
Yeah,
time.
And I love the bit where they show how sharp this wire is when she tries to grab it, and immediately her
Mhm.
hands start bleeding. I was
Right.
like, good job, good stuff on that. I mean, I'd say if there's one trap, I would say maybe another minute might have done the job. Would be Mateo's with the
Yep.
extracting the gray matter. I mean,
Hmm.
fortunately, Saw has experience with cutting open the skull and digging into brain, so we know that he's obviously not going to be in pain when he cuts into his brain, but still, that's a big ask. That's a big ask. At
Yeah.
least give the
I'm
guy
like,
another
still,
minute.
could you do that? Could you start picking pieces of your brain out? Oh, like
Yeah,
he's doing what you're asking. I just you got that. I gotta get that specific amount in there. And
you
he just
gotta you
doesn't
gotta
do it in time.
let them get through the tutorial level first before you give them the
Right to the boss.
yeah before you get to the boss battle here. You know, it's like throwing someone into the end of Heavenly Sword and like fighting the final boss if they haven't played the game.
Hmm.
You
Oh
know,
God.
that's a deep cut for anyone who's ever played that game. Jesus Christ, great game until it gets that
Yeah.
fucking final boss battle. Yeah, awful boss battle. I hated it. Yeah, but then you got Gab. But with friggin' Cecilia and the level of depravity that she is,
Mm.
just the fact that she with Gabriella, I mean, unforgivable on that
Hmm.
level. Just
Yeah,
uh,
because she was trying to subtly help Gabriella the whole movie. She was very
yeah,
hesitant of doing her game, like pushing it back as far as she could. It's inevitable, but you're
yeah.
trying
And
to
Gabriella
help.
won. And Gabriella won her game. She
She
earned her
did.
pass.
I don't know
Yeah.
how much she would have survived with that much radiation damage, but
Well, again, they were going to get her to the hospital immediately. I'm pretty sure they would have. I mean, granted, these are
she
Mexico
was
hospitals,
fucked
but
up, dude. She
yeah,
was fucked up.
yeah.
And
I mean,
radiation has lasting effects. That's gonna give you sore cancers and it's gonna give you all sorts of health problems down the line.
mhm.
So who knows how, but she would have had a chance had Cecilia's insanity not taken over.
Oh yeah, freaking crushed. Yeah, just crushing her
Crushed
windpipe,
her neck,
and
dude.
all
Oh,
of it just because he's like, oh, these weren't my friends. They were loose
no.
ends to me.
Yeah. And you could tell the whole movie she was pushing them to do their games, but it was like it's all very like shut the fuck up, Cecilia. Give him a second. Like shut up over there.
Yeah. Oh, but she had no problem throwing shade. I mean, just even when she's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Come on, John, do the scary voice."
Do the scary voice. Yeah.
Yeah. New game. It's called I Win, You Die, Fuck You.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was like, oh. And I
So
get
we find like halfway through the movie, Parker makes his appearance again, and he shows up as an angry um quote
former patient
unquote
as well.
victim.
Yeah.
Yeah, who I mean that tracked a little bit when he showed up. Did you think that he was part of her group or
Uh, I feel like when the reveal happened, I was like, yeah, that tracks. I mean,
yeah,
that kind of feels right. But simultaneously, though, they do a good job selling him on his outrage about what he's seeing. That I could have
yeah,
believed him. I could have also believed him being someone who was so disgusted with what he saw that like, they could have played an interesting game. I'm glad they go the route they did. It still works. But I like, I could have also believed this was someone who was conned, but like someone, an outsider looking in, being the moral divining rod between the two is like, whose side am I on in this equation? She's a
mm,
con artist who
mm,
has led people to death, but this is Jigsaw, who he himself has done things that have led people to die. Uh,
right.
so it would have been equally fascinating that he, decides, fuck this, give me the gun, and then yeah, Cecilia screws him over. That would have been kind of fun too. But I am again really glad with the route they go because it does make the ending so much sweeter.
Mm.
It does get to the twist in this one, which was eh. I'll say this, in the grand scheme of the Saw franchise, it's not the best twist. It's not the one that's like the most mind shredding, but it
Mhm.
doesn't change the fact that it's still the most fucking satisfying.
Yeah, I don't know what else they could have done for a twist, honestly, because
Yeah,
they were going for you thought you had me and I knew the whole time. Because
yeah,
Jigsaw, of course he did. And he did a good job. He and Amanda did a good job at being like, oh no, like you
yeah,
got me. Like you did, oh no. Like you're
yeah.
killing him. Like
Where the hell did Jigsaw get all that blood?
pigs. Lots of pigs.
Yeah.
Lots of Mexican pigs.
Yeah, you know what? I
Oh,
think you
wait,
might be.
you're asking that's where you draw the line of like, well, how did he build any of this? How did he
Yeah.
build a Mayan sarcophagus for Mateo's head? How did any of that get
Well,
built in like a day?
well, that's the thing I will say about the trap. Well, the traps in this really do kind of feel like piecemealed. Like they all really do feel like leftover medical parts because I think they said that this was a medical parts facility
Hmm.
or something like that. So it feels like a lot of these traps were engineered from spare parts. I mean, even the mask that he uses, the
Hmm.
mask is Tlaloc, the same god of death
Yeah,
that the cabbie told them about. So I wouldn't be surprised if
right.
you picked that up from some like turret, like some gift shop or something, and kind of use it as an ironic thematic aspect to the trap. So that's how I rationalized it. I like the fact they in visual form they address the fact that this is a very clearly a last minute trap game that Jigsaw is coming up with.
Oh yeah.
The twist in this just when he gets at the second they pull that bag out and I'm now at that point. Even actually earlier when Diego has the things on his arms, I'm like, don't get up, don't get up, don't get you got I
Yep. He fell for the same thing Amanda did. Don't get up.
yeah, never get actually how a lot of people do it always seems to start
Yep.
with them impulsively just getting up thinking that and then it's
Hmm.
like, nope, don't do it. And
Nope.
it's like, nope, you did
Yep.
it. You did it. And,
Thinking you're free. It's always like, oh, I did it. I'm free now. No, no, no.
and it's like,
Yeah, he's
nope.
staring at you the whole time, man. He's not freaking out that you're getting out. He's watching you.
Yeah, in a trap, as we've shown, was from the video games where he had the scalpels
Yeah, yeah.
in his hands. And that was one I was impressed that he made it out alive on that sucker. I was,
God, yeah.
yeah,
Gotta dig
that
into your arms like that. Woof.
dig into your arms with that kind of wire and mutilating his arms and surviving those explosives. I was like,
Jeez. Yeah.
that actually did have me. I remember I was actually like, is he gonna? Oh my God, he did. That's
Yep.
incredible.
Well, I think it's important to mention also, which showcases again the level of psychotic behavior that Celia and even Parker have, is at the end, the trap they end up putting in the trap is a child with John.
Yeah,
The bloodboarding trap ends up, which I think originally Amanda was supposed to be on the other side, but they were like, why don't we up the ante of how psychotic these characters are? We're gonna put an innocent child in this trap instead.
yeah. This this
And
this child that taught us,
taught him
you
one
know,
word, very
hala,
important one
hala.
word.
Yeah, very
Full.
important word. Yeah, this sweet little child who gets like the greatest payday like of all time,
Oh yeah.
but yeah.
That's the other thing, is like it ends with them walking into the sunset with this kid that they saved, and it's just
Oh,
like,
not
you
the
guys are the
sunset, the
heroes.
sunrise. It was a
Sunrise,
sunrise.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a sunrise. That was even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing I loved. Just like that final shot of the movie is just this beautiful, like, yeah, we're the heroes. We got out here.
Hmm.
They had like an end of Marvel movie victory
Yeah.
dance at the
Like,
end of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like,
Wait, we're cheering for the villains. Yeah, why
yeah,
not?
yeah, we're cheering. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it kind of reminds me a long time ago. There was a Mel Gibson film called Payback, and I love that the advertising campaign just flat out said, "Get ready to root for the bad guy." And I'm like,
Hmm.
sometimes it is fun to have those movies where you just root for the
Yeah.
bad guy, and usually the way you do that is just show that there are people in this world that are worse than him.
Yeah. I think we've
Yeah,
been also building up to that this entire franchise. The whole point is he's targeting people who have done wrong to themselves and others.
yeah, and goddamn, does Cecilia do wrong, man? She's just in beyond that. And then actually, I loved how they established that she's done this to, like 34 other people
Hmm.
before
Hmm.
John Kramer, and I love how Amanda is just she relishes the idea of parading in her face, like going, "Bitch,
Yeah.
there's nothing you could say that's going to make us like hesitate in doing what we're doing right now because you just killed 34 people just for your own benefit."
Stole the money. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and she's
People
like,
who were dying. You
"Yeah,
took the only thing they had, John says, their hope.
their hope," and they're all in the ground, and you made off, and now you're making a sweet profit of like of $8 million,
Hmm.
and it's like that is, and don't even be, it's like, listen, we put people in traps to, for the sake of, in the hopes that they will embrace their life so much so that they want to live.
Hmm.
You know, it's just by their, they die, but
What's he call himself? A life coach
A
of some
life coach.
kind?
Well, she calls him a life coach. I do love that exchange
Yeah,
at the beginning. He's like, "What do you do?"
yeah,
It's like,
something like
I
that.
help people
I
overcome
help
life,
people overcome their
overcome
obstacles in life.
overcome their
Like,
obstacles. Like,
yeah,
oh, like a life
yeah,
coach,
you
just
do.
something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
There's a little
Yeah.
part of me expecting that they were going to do a Saw style cutaway, like when she
Mm.
says, "Oh, like a life coach," and then do like a cutaway to some of the traps
To
in Saw
Amanda's
One,
trap, he saved
to a
me.
man's trap
Yeah.
in Saw One, and like, or actually like any of the traps we saw in Saw One, like the
Mhm.
like especially with the hyperactive thing
Sure.
like that. That would have been funny. It would have been the right. It would have been funny, but I can understand why they kept to it.
Because those of you who know, which I saw the movie with somebody who had never seen Saw before.
Oh, really?
So that was his first experience with Saw. He's going to come to the 20th anniversary tonight to see the first one now.
Oh, cool.
So he's going to be a first-time viewer of that. And I was like, yeah, it's definitely more comedic to those of us who know who he is and what he's done.
So, all right, so this definite. So would you say this one really kind of got him interested in the
Yeah, I
franchise?
was like, and it was cool because he didn't need to see any of the other ones. All I had to do was inform him this is the second one in the timeline. He knows that I cosplay Amanda, so he's seen the character of Amanda before, and I'm like, this is her character, and we're gonna show you one now, so that you can kind of get caught uh, up to speed with one and X at least.
Yeah.
But I don't think you need to. Like, as long as you have some context, you don't need to see any of the other Saw movies before X if it's
Yeah,
the only one you have access to.
precisely. Precisely. There's a little part of me thinking, yeah, show him one and two. I mean, you could. I'd
Mhm.
like to put that to the test, actually. I think probably the next time, in all likelihood, when Saw 11 finally comes out, I think there will be like I will plan on doing a binge, and I think I might just do that just to test to see if that works.
Sure.
So, ooh, so yeah, so as we leave it at the tail end, Cecilia and Parker very reliably, and as Amanda very slyly said, she's gonna burn you, dude. She's gonna,
Hmm.
and even John Kerr's like, Amanda's right. Cecilia's gonna freaking turn on you the first chance. And he's like going, I will die for you, baby. And I'm like,
Yeah. No,
yeah. And the second he
you
said that, I
won't.
was like, you're gonna fucking die for her, aren't you? But not in
Hmm.
the way you think. But not
Right.
in the way you think. And lo and behold, it all came down to how, you say you're gonna die for each other. Let's see you do. Let's see who's gonna actually like
Yeah, I
do.
think we all knew, especially just watching Cecilia throughout the movie, like this bitch isn't gonna die for anybody on her own accord.
No, she is going to,
She's
first chance you
ruthless.
get, first chance you get, she guts him. I
Hmm.
mean, she's the kind of woman who disembowels a fresh corpse and uses the intestines as a rope with
That scene
no
is so
hesitation.
that scene is so goofy, but I love
I
it.
love it. Oh, I think I love it just because the intestines are plopping around like
Hmm.
link
As
sausages.
Amanda just comes in and collects these and tosses them to the
Yeah.
side. I'm like, how casual did you just pick up those intestines and throw them to the side?
Just pick them up and they plop.
Let me just
I
clean
think
this up real quick.
yeah, I just live for the plopping noises. And meanwhile, Gabriella and Mateo are just looking at her like, what the fuck are you
I'm
doing?
like, yeah. That's fine. Just gonna
I think
clean
that,
this
that
up.
that makes me happy too, is that every now and then you do see people like on the verge of throwing up because yeah, in real life that shit's not
That would be
pleasant to
fucking
look at.
gross. Or
It's like I
smell. I'm sure that room smelled like ass.
oh yeah, well I'm sure most saw game
Hmm.
rooms smell like ass.
Hmm.
That's part of the experience. It's
Yeah,
like
no, it's
I'm wondering if and when we get out to Vegas to do the Saw escape room, I'm wondering if they're gonna actually like do smells in there as well.
pump some rotten meat into the room. Ooh,
Yeah, or
lovely.
at
Oh,
least
what is that? What is that?
yeah, or just shit. Just a lot of shit.
Yeah, there's just a lot of blood and shit.
Yeah.
Oh, we just want it to be a full visceral experience. Like, I want all your senses to be engaged in this. If you're not throwing up by the end of this, we didn't do our job.
We did not do a job. Not at all. So so in the end, yeah, while John, Amanda, and yeah, and the little boy get away, and the boy gets the killer payday, but unfortunately, as it's pretty clear, Cecilia did survive.
Hmm.
And there was even a deleted post-credit stinger where you see the door open and that she's like, out. That leaves us to speculate on the future. Oh,
Hmm.
actually, and we didn't mention it, but there was a mid-credit stinger where we get to see the Hoffinator once again.
The Hoffinator.
Yeah.
So yeah, I both times I saw the movie with people, I had them, I had them asking, well, what about the guy who tipped John off about this whole thing? He got to go, and I was like, just wait, just hold
That's
on,
right.
just hang on a second. And he
Yeah.
he ends up in my favorite character, the bathroom, which of course the bathroom had to come. My favorite Saw character is the bathroom.
Our favorite shit bathroom.
It's not a proper Saw
Yeah.
installment without the bathroom. And we haven't
Yeah.
seen it in a while, so I missed it.
Though there's a part of me wondering, I was like, well, wait a minute. If this was after the first Saw movie, where's where's Adam?
Yeah, that's true. Did we
Oh, but
not
then
see him in
again,
the corner?
well, wait a minute. Actually, remind me again. I think Amanda pretty much killed him almost immediately after the end of Saw 1, right?
Um, yeah,
And
because she still
yeah,
looked pretty much the same as after she kidnapped him.
yeah, and she asphyxiated him.
Hmm.
So, for
But
all
that
intents and
body
purposes,
was mummified in the bathroom in two and
yeah,
on. So
yeah,
he's still sitting there. He should
he's
have
still
been.
sitting there. So I wouldn't be surprised
Mhm.
if the corpse was still there. They just didn't put it. They just didn't put it in frame. So,
Possible, yeah.
yeah, okay, never
Because
mind.
it shows the ceiling with the lights and then just the focus on him. So I
Yeah,
don't think they even showed like the bathtub or anything like that, but you know he's there.
okay, all
So the
right,
scene
that's fair.
is, yeah, it's the guy who tipped him off. Hoffman's there, of course, because yeah, Hoffman.
Yeah,
And his famous line, like, of all the people to
yeah.
con, you chose John
It was John
Kramer, and that's what
Kramer.
I call epic
Epic
bad
bad
luck.
luck.
I'm like, oh, shut up, Hoffman.
Because they cut the scene earlier where Cecilia confronts John on it and says that I know your jigsaw kind of thing. I there's that idea, well, because they cut that, they play that scene insinuates that Cecilia realizes right then and there that he's Jigsaw.
Mhm.
But the way they have it now, it's implied that Cecilia always knew
John Kramer. I mean,
Jake fucking
yeah. Yeah, I mean, they knew his name at this point. They knew
yeah.
John Kramer was the Jigsaw killer since it's after one. They knew he had cancer.
Well, here's the thing. They don't know. Everyone around doesn't know about John Kramer because the only one who could possibly have known that it was John Kramer was Adam, and he's because
Well, wasn't the news talking about him at this point? They knew Jigsaw was out and running rampant and killing people, and they knew
well
he was
they
a cancer patient.
well they knew no, they didn't know he was a cancer patient in the first
Didn't
movie.
they, because of Gordon?
Well, well, they knew John Kramer the cancer patient, but they did not know that he was Jigsaw. They knew about Jigsaw, but they didn't
Oh.
know that John Kramer was Jigsaw
Hmm.
at that point.
Ah.
And the only person who could have ever possibly known about that is now dead in that shit bathroom.
Right. Well, and Gordon, I guess.
Well, no, not even Gordon, because remember, he left the room before that body got up.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
No, he didn't know. Dr. Gordon didn't know until afterwards when Jigsaw rescued him.
But how quickly did he rescue him after that? He was missing his leg.
I would imagine he had rescued him pretty quickly because they went out the
Mm,
same hallway.
sure.
Yeah.
So, by X, he
Yeah.
would have known.
Yeah. Oh, no, he definitely would have known by X.
Hmm.
All right. So enough about the past. Let's talk about the future, actually. Let's talk about what could happen next after this. So I believe they have established that Cecilia will be making a return for Saw 11. But they have not confirmed anything else. Uh, I'd say it's a safe speculation that whatever happens is probably going to take place between 2 and 3, which would be kind of cool. So what do you think could
Okay.
happen what do you want? Let's, what do you want slash what do you think will happen?
I've tried not to think too much about plot, but I know, Hoffman's going to be there more prevalently, I would assume.
Hmm.
Especially with the teasing of him at the end of the last movie.
Yeah.
Are we sure it's going to be between 2 and 3, or is it going to be again between X and 2?
Well, no, I said no. The only thing I know is that Cecilia is involved, but I didn't. But
Hmm.
I said odds are pretty good. It'll probably be between 2 and 3.
Okay.
Yeah, odds are
Yeah, because there's
good.
definitely some time between
Yeah,
2 and 3, like
yeah,
at least a year or something. Somehow he survives, so.
yeah. I'd like to think that I would like to think that it's going to be between 2 and 3, and I would like to see more of Hoffman in
Mhm.
this one, principally because, like you, I'd like to see more of the relationship between John and Amanda, but I'd like to see how that is going to be in conflict with Hoffman. Because
Sure, which they
for all,
hinted at a little bit in 6 that they definitely have a sibling rivalry
of
that we want to
course,
see more of.
yeah. But beyond that, like another thing you talked about, like in previous ones, there did seem to be like a major shift between her loyalty to Jigsaw at the end of 2, and then all of a sudden here she is sabotaging traps in 3, and then saying
Cutting
like, you know,
herself and having just more vices than ever before, yeah.
yeah, and just saying no one ever changes, anything like that.
Hmm.
So I think the major thing, especially with Cecilia being involved, I believe what's going to happen is that I think Cecilia is going to get to Amanda in terms of like being living proof that what John does not in fact work. Because here I
Yeah.
am, I survived my traps,
Hmm.
I encountered a nightmare scenario, and here I am, the same person I always was.
Yeah, because she's a psychopath from the beginning, and she's going to be a psychopath till she's dead.
Exactly. So I think that's what the major over arc of the next one's going to be. I think it's very clear
Hmm.
Cecilia's going to try to take her revenge on John. Very clear that Amanda's going to be completely left disillusioned by the end of it to the point where she's going to be in a vulnerable state, which I wouldn't be surprised if Hoffman might notice and will
Hmm.
intend to exploit it in order to get
Oh,
what.
he already has with the whole
Yeah,
she's too emotional thing. Like, she's going to let you down. Like,
exactly,
he was trying to plant those seeds with John early on, being like, Amanda's going to let you down.
precisely. So I think that's what I'm hoping to see, and what I am pretty optimistic we will see
I'm
in
excited.
Saw 11. So
Hmm.
I don't know. Do you agree on that?
I believe so, yeah. Because I mean, they're setting up the plot to very much be that, and Cecilia, I would assume, isn't going to survive after 11, or even if 12 is a thing.
Oh, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm not for nothing, but I really do kind of hope she gets hers.
I
I really
think
hope
we
she
all
gets
do.
hers in spectacular
Yeah,
fashion. So,
yeah.
all right. So let's go ahead and, well, first off, we had to do the customary ranking that we have to do now that we're at this point. So go ahead and give us your final ranking of the Saw franchise, and let's see if it's in ties with mine.
Do
There's
you
10
want to
moves.
go best to worst or worst to best?
Worst, let's do worst to best.
All right. I think I'm going to have to, at the bottom of the barrel, and nobody is going to be surprised by it, put 7 at the bottom.
Hmm.
Just everything about it, from the way it was shot to the plot to the woman hating and all the things that it was about. I don't think anybody is going to be surprised by that.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people will
Uh,
agree with us on that.
mm-hmm. 4 next, because it kind
Really?
of just felt, yeah, it kind of felt like it was filler. It felt like it was trying to piece together what happens after everybody's dead, and we're trying to put Hoffman in here, but we don't really know how to implement him yet.
Hmm.
And it just kind of felt rushed. The traps weren't very fleshed out, and it left me kind of bored.
Okay.
Um, from there, I'm gonna go 5. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
gonna go 5 because it was just a continuation of that thought, but it got a little bit better.
All right.
And then from there, I will do. I mean, I should have written it down. From there, I guess I will do. Uh, uh, I'm kind of tossing up between Jigsaw and Spiral. I think I'll do Spiral next because it felt so strangely out of place, which it never pretended to be a Saw, like in
Mhm.
in the same franchise, but we'll do Spiral and then Jigsaw.
Okay.
And then from there I will do 6. I'll do 6. Then X, 3, 1, and 2.
Okay. That is entirely not my order, so congratulations on that.
Great.
Uh, actually, definitely congratulations on that. Although the one thing we do definitely have in common is definitely our last one.
Mm.
Um, so actually, you said 2 is your favorite, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that is mine. Okay, I'll spoil that as mine. So my worst is definitely 3D for Saw 3D for pretty much the same reasons. Um, Jigsaw followed that, but I think
Mm.
I'm more secure in that, especially after our discussion. Now I'm realizing, yeah,
Mm.
there's a lot of things about that that just don't make sense. So
Mm.
putting that in there. Spiral's next because apart from the fact that it was the experimental one, it is like the outlier by design. It is so.
Mm-hmm.
I can't 100% put it as the worst, but I can't put it as the greatest either. Um, Saw 4, because it is a transitional film. It does kind of feel like it's just there by necessity.
Mhm.
So I can't say I love it. Just it doesn't stand on its own two legs like it should. Um, Saw 5, for me, just because not really any real reason. I actually really do like it, and it does get better every time I see it. But I think it's just a case of I don't hate it, but it's not as good as all the ones that are going to come on this list afterwards. Saw 3, funny enough, I would wasn't higher because slow ass motherfucking Jeff. Um, but no, honestly, again, same scenario. It's like that's another one that does get better more times I see it, but again, the other stuff is just better. Same
Mhm.
situation. Saw 6 is next on that list. That one just blew my mind. Loved everything about it. I can't think of anything. I don't think of a con. There's not a con in that entire movie. Now I think about it, that's just one that I just legit like. Like everything about it just works for me. The original Saw is my number 3, or at least yeah. Uh, that one just does the job. It's kind of like Doctor No, where it sets the tone, sets the game, gives us the ebb and flow, but all the best of it has not arrived yet. It's just the one that
Mhm.
really does set the game. Saw X is my penultimate for everything that we talked about. It made me cry. Think about that. A Saw film made me cry.
Mhm.
That's something you don't expect to ever encounter in your life. And
No.
yeah, Saw 2, pure and simple because it's the Goldfinger of the franchise. That's the one where everything that we know and love about the franchise and everything that will become hand in hand with the franchise is all done here.
Mhm.
Like, and sometimes in even bigger fashion than the first one. So yeah, to me, I think Saw 2 is the ultimate Saw.
Awesome.
All right. So I promised you that I would have a game for you. With
He
all
wants to
the
play a game.
I want to play a game. Ooh, I do that well. All right, without post-production. All right. So instead of actually, we haven't done our main favorite traps for Saw X, or like our top trap for Saw X.
I think I've always said I had a special place in my heart for the radiation trap just because radiation is horrifying to me.
Okay. Uh, I I am actually going to say Valentina's with the Geely Saw. A,
Mhm.
because the Geely Saw just sounds like a really cool creation, and just the way they
Mhm.
show how sharp that thing is. It's just a really well presented trap, and it actually does have a nice like intensity about it where you actually think that she could have made it on that one. So
Sure.
yeah. There's some traps where you're like it's a far gone conclusion they're not going to make it, but that was one where I was like, oh my God, she might actually do this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So all right, so that's mine. So the reason why I'm glad we got that because all right, so for each movie, what's the trap do you think that you would actually be able to survive?
So one, I'd probably survive the reverse bear trap because it involves eviscerating somebody else and not myself.
I think for me, just because I'm definitely not a rotund individual, I actually think I would survive the razor wire net.
Yeah.
I actually think I would do pretty well in that. A, because I also love mazes.
Mhm.
So, and that's
You're
technically a
like, I had
maze.
fun with that one.
Well, I don't know if I had fun with it, but I definitely think I would do better than that guy.
Oh yeah, I agree with that as well.
Yeah. I mean, because it was
Probably
still
would have
pretty well lit in there. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So that would be that I
And
think
he
I would
had like
survive.
hours, didn't he? Didn't he have like at least an hour?
Yeah, I definitely know he had time to do it as well.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think that's another thing. So, all right, Saw 2.
I probably would have. I mean, it's easy to say this from somebody who's watched the movies and know the solutions. But I think Obi's test, if he had just stopped to look around, he could have survived that. So I think I
Mhm.
would have been able to survive that.
Because I'm a naturally paranoid individual, especially in situations like this, like if ever I'm in like any kind of like horror nights house or anything like that, I'm always like very weary about everything that I go into or walking into.
Hmm.
I would definitely survive the razor box
Oh
because
yeah.
I would not put my hand in that damn thing.
I think most
Like,
properly thinking human beings wouldn't.
yeah, well, here's the thing. Before I do, I would scrutinize it. I would like give it a lot of heavy scrutiny to see the odds and ends of it, to see
Hmm.
like what the right way is to approach that. So that's what I would do. All right, so Saw 3.
Now, is this assuming with that comment of yours, would this be assuming you had a clear mind because their brains were melting? Which is, I think, the reason why she was panicking as much as she did. You have to think they're not thinking straight.
Yeah, well, the character wasn't exactly established as being a pretty was being a clear thinker to begin with. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, me on the other hand, I think my anxiety and my paranoia would probably win out
Gotcha.
in that situation, even with the melting brain.
So Saw 3, here's the thing about that is Jeff had control of most of their traps.
We're fucking dead.
So we're dead.
We're dead no matter what.
No matter what you're in, either Jeff is in control of it or it's an unwinnable trap by Amanda. So which would you rather?
Eesh.
Let's say if you had to choose one of the traps to be in.
Um, well, firstly, it has to beg the question, what did we do to get in these traps to begin with? So, I mean, like, what did we do to piss off Jigsaw or Amanda or to do those?
Mhm.
Um, let's see. But you go first.
That is true though, isn't it? Isn't every trap in this movie not winnable by the person in it?
Yeah, that is, well, with the exception of, well, ideally, Carrie and the guy with the chains. Uh, yeah, I
Those are
mean, they,
unwinnable.
yeah. Well, they were unwinnable because of Amanda. So let's take
Hmm.
Amanda. So for that one,
You're saying if they were winnable.
yeah, if they were winnable, and also if someone a bit more speedier than slow ass motherfucking Jeff was
Somebody who's
controlling it,
competent.
someone who was competent, were deciding our fate on that terms. Like, what should do you think that we would survive
That's
on
rough.
those?
Yeah. Hmm. So if it was up to you, I I guess the angel trap, just because it kind of feels like speed would have been the key there.
Yeah, I mean,
The literal key.
yeah, all you had, yeah, I mean, even Carrie, as you see her hand afterwards, it
Hmm.
looked like her hand
Hmm.
still was like intact, like
Functional.
it
Like
was
she
still
was able to
functional.
get that key in there and actually like
Yeah,
work it, so she was not mangled to the point of
and you saw, and actually the testament to Carrie as a character, because she knew the situation that she was involved in, she knew that the key thing is just don't hesitate, just
yeah,
dunk your hand
quick,
in there and
quick.
quick, and get it done. And she did, and she would
Hmm.
have survived had
Hmm.
Amanda played fair. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So I think that one.
I do think I would survive the pig puree.
Mm.
I do think I would survive the pig puree pretty well in that one. And as a testament, it was the one trap that Jeff actually did pull through on, where the guy actually did. The guy survived that trap. It's just he survived afterwards because both of them were idiots.
So let's be creative. If you remove Jeff from that situation, how would he have gotten the key?
So no, that trap relied entirely on Jeff. You needed someone
Hmm.
there to. So I mean, I don't imagine I would have pissed someone off so bad that they would have that they would want me dead. So
Hmm.
hopefully I don't piss someone off on that level. So yeah, no, I'd say if even if I'm putting my life in Jeff's hands, I'm pretty sure I'd survive the pig puree.
Hmm.
All right. So Saw 4.
Or is an again, I think a lot of those traps are reliant on the cop coming on in. Um, I don't want to lose my eyes. I don't know what other I would say the skewers. If I had
Yeah.
the wife's side of it, the skewers, I would have survived.
Hmm.
Just really got to deal with a lot of pain.
Yeah. I actually think I would survive the beginning trap, the opening trap with the
Mm,
see no evil, speak no evil, because I'm pretty sure I would try to find whatever I could to cut open my mouth. If I had to, I would just rip open
that's
my
true.
lips. I think I would just have to just say, you know what, fuck this, and just try my best to open my mouth.
That's true, and I would just probably just be as quiet as possible.
Yeah. Or actually, I would just like try to scream and basically like hit home to the guy, I can't talk,
Hmm.
or just do whatever I can to communicate with the guy before I even try to like,
I just love
yeah,
how Saw victims are just like you can't reason with them. They're just wild animals most of the
yeah.
time.
All right, so Saw 5. This is one. Actually, let's do a spin on this one since this is one that involves everyone having to rely on each other.
Mhm.
Uh, let's try. So let's put both of us in this scenario and try to determine if both of us jointly would survive this, or which
Mhm.
like the first one. Like, would we figure out about the keys in that first one?
I like that one key will unlock them all.
Yeah.
In the moment, I don't think so.
Yeah, in the
Because
moment,
why
I
would you
doubt it.
assume to try that?
Yeah, yeah,
But it was pretty obvious that it's like if you guys just let one go at a time, we have time to all get out of here.
yeah.
It just depends on what kind of wily fucker we have in the room who doesn't want to work with everybody.
Hmm. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure both you and I, could survive both of those. Like, especially if we work together. I think
Yeah, I think
whether,
level-headed people could survive it.
yeah, I think all those traps, funny enough, could be survivable if we all keep a level head. The only one
Mhm.
which I think I know I would be very like in my head about whether or not I could do it is the circular saw at the end.
A circular saw, I don't know about electrocuting myself too.
Actually, this is disgusting, but you know what I do? I take my pants off before I do,
Hmm.
just so I don't shit myself.
I've been tased. It's the most painful thing I've ever had experienced in my life.
Oh yeah.
Don't recommend it.
Yeah. But again, the whole idea is that the more people there, the shock is not
Yeah.
meant to be that much. But I actually think we could fare pretty well. Like especially that weird one with the jars and the
Hmm. Oh yeah.
I think my first thought would be to look in those, like going, actually, I think we all could fit in these things. We just have to
Hmm.
find the right ones.
I think it's what everybody's criticism about that movie is like, why didn't they just notice you could fit more than one person in one of those things?
Well, I think the reason why I let that go is because they do a great job establishing that these characters are awful people
Hmm. Hmm.
and they're very self-serving. And again, as that's why I love
It's very
Jigsaw
true of
says,
a lot of these Saw movies. It's like the victims are their own enemy. They're their own
yeah.
problem.
Saw 6 is another odd situation, but let's go ahead and um actually instead for this one, let's do a spin. If we were in William's position,
Hmm.
like how would we determine how we chose? Like how would we choose? Like
Yeah, and it depends on which trap you're talking about too. You talking about the shotgun carousel? Are you talking about the two people? Or are you talking about
I mean, the shotgun carries like I'd have to think about the 6 people who are like the closest to me
hmm
in there, like the people who work with me. It's like who could I possibly choose who
hmm
lives and who dies on that one? I think the major thing I'd be screaming at them is like going, guys, I am I will say this, I am more than willing to impale my hand twice. I'm more than willing to try to save whatever life I could, but I'd
hmm
have to like scream at everybody, guys, 4 of you are not making out of this, and I don't know who I pick. And unfortunately, this is why I don't like saying someone's my best friend.
Right.
This is why I don't like saying that because that's basically me saying like you're better than every other friend I've got. I was like, no, I love all my
hmm
friends because
hmm
apparently there's something good about me that they want to be friends with. So
And with that situation, it was like a comically bad people
yeah,
situation to where like they all showed their true form the more panicked they got. And it's like,
yeah.
I'd like to think I don't have friends like that. You
I
know?
should have thought that I should have thought this through like some of the situations, but
Because it's
actually
not always
let's
the victim. It's not
all
always the
right.
victim who has control.
Okay, actually all right, let's fixate on certain trap. All right, let's focus on the final trap, the life and death,
Yeah.
acid. Um, if we were that family in that
Hmm.
position,
Hmm.
would we pull the lever on him?
If I didn't have consequences like you're going to jail for murder after this, I see no reason why not to, honestly. I know that sounds cold. You killed my dad, and I don't care about you, and you're an awful person.
Yeah. I suppose for me, now, granted, if we're talking about my actual dad, I don't know. I think I'd probably let him live.
Hmm.
But, if it was my mom, I'd say, dude, you're living. Uh, that's fine. Yeah, I just unloaded on you on that. But
But imagine a situation like this kid who obviously had a caring father.
yeah, no, this kid I get completely. I totally
Hmm.
understand why he did it. And Lord
Hmm.
knows that guy actually seemed like a pretty nice guy who obviously was loved by his family.
Yep.
Yeah, but if it was my parents, that's debatable as
Mm.
whether or not I think I probably would just let him live because ultimately in the end, I suppose it's the Doctor Who fan of me, but I just don't know if I could make that judgment call.
Sure.
Yeah, I think I would probably let him live.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it depends on your relationship with your parents.
Yeah, and there's also something to think about William in Saw 6. There is the thought that I actually do think had he lived, I think he would have been profoundly changed by his
That's
experiences.
true. I do believe so.
I think he would have finally saw like the consequences of his actions and probably changed things. So I actually do, yeah, I'll let him live. I would let
Hmm.
him live.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because bear in mind, we do watch him on this odyssey where he's basically having his philosophies flung back in his face,
True.
realizing how awful they are. And you can actually see it to the credit of the actor, you can actually see he's profoundly affected by it.
Hmm.
He's not like
That's true.
he's not defiant or anything like that. He actually realizes he done fucked up.
I can see him becoming an apprentice and like from his
Yeah.
experiences, knowing what John means by everything he's doing to him.
Or at the very least, just going to his company, taking everyone together and like saying, I was drastically wrong about my approach to this. We have And yeah, fuck the shareholders. We have to do something that helps the people. We have to do
Mm-hmm.
this. Where the insurance company is supposed to help people. That's the point of it.
Yeah.
We need to do that. And Lynn works in insurance, and they've done us wonderful. You just got to find the right insurance company. That's all there is to it.
Hmm. Hmm.
But anyway, so all right, I'm glad we were able to figure that out. So with that in
Good.
mind, you would you let him live?
With that in mind, yeah, you're right. But assuming I knew his journey, I guess, because it's like this family didn't watch him the entire time, right? All they see is this guy walking in the door.
I thought they did. I thought they had a monitor that had it.
I don't think they did.
Oh,
Because in the end, that's the twist of them being like, you son of a bitch. We all thought it was like the family's dad, and it's not.
yeah,
So at the end, they're like, oh, you're the asshole who killed our father.
yeah.
So they have no idea what he's been through. They just saw him walk through the door and was like, oh, it's
That's
on.
fair.
So if I had known what he had been through in the whole story, yeah.
All right. I think I'd still stand by my claim. I'd still let him live because I don't know if I could live with it making that
Hmm.
judgment call.
Hmm.
So, and very clearly, the mom couldn't either. Like she
Right.
obviously knew that she couldn't live with it. All right, now we're on to Saw 3D.
Seven. Trying to even remember the traps.
Uh, you haven't scorned any pissed off boyfriends, have you?
Not that I know of. I also
All
don't have
right.
the video game prowess as our main character.
Yeah. Um, I am definitely confident I would survive the leg lift thing where he's got the
Mm.
jabs in his side. I
Oh
think
yeah.
And now that one, at least, that one was also heavily gauged on the abilities of the guy doing it as well. It was also contingent on his abilities. Um, so
Right. Yeah, it was all very stamina and strength based, which is
yeah,
not my strong suit.
no. So I'm definitely not going to be able to let my pecs, to mutilate my pecs. Um,
Sure. Could you walk somebody through the boards?
Probably. Now the question is, actually, for me, if I was blindfolded, um, I think if I was the one in the blindfold kind of thing, I'm the
Mhm.
kind of person who really does feel out like what's in front of my feet, especially if I'm blindfolded. I do kind of like feel out what's in
Yeah.
front of me, and I would kind of, but yeah. So no, I'm not going to talk big.
I
No, I
mean,
stand. I stand
that's
by mine.
what were the other traps? Because I'm getting them mixed with
Well, I
I'm
definitely
getting 'em
know
mixed with
neither.
sex.
Well, I think we've definitely discovered neither of us would survive the fish hook,
God damn.
and we would.
Again, well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
If you
actually,
were in her position.
I suppose by default, I think both of us would have no problem ripping out our teeth if we needed to.
Well, yeah. God damn. Would you like to rip out your teeth?
Uh,
Yeah,
hey, dental science has been pretty amazing recently.
that's true. That is
So
replaceable. So I
yeah.
guess I would go with that. It would
Okay.
hurt, but I would
It
go
would
with
hurt,
that.
but you could do
Uh,
it. All right. Now we're on to Jigsaw.
Jigsaw. Um, I think the needle. Like, I still don't know what her hesitation was. I'd probably survive the needle and not piss that guy off to have him stab me.
Yeah, I think yeah that would I would even say all of us just because I think we'd all would pretty much survive the circular saws because we just like go oh thing
Yeah,
and
yeah, a little nick once you know what's going on. Like I saw one of them was trying to put his finger up, and I was like,
yeah
"You're gonna
try with
rip
his
your whole
fingertip.
finger off doing that. Don't do that." I would probably just do my arm like real quick, like,
Yeah,
ouch.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, just somewhere like non-vital. So yeah, I think we're both in agreement on that. For Spiral, I am definitely confident I would be okay with at least getting the flesh ripped off the tip of my fingers because skin grafts.
God, yeah,
Yeah.
that's rough. And again, some of those were not winnable by the victim. The glass cannon, he was basing that off of how fast Zeke moved, which he didn't figure it out until too late what he was supposed to
Yeah.
do. That's a
Yeah.
rough way to go. Oof.
Yeah. I definitely don't see myself ripping my tongue
You
out.
want
I
to rip
definitely
your
don't.
tongue out? Yeah,
No,
I
no
think I
ripping my
think
tongue
the
out.
Chinese finger trap has to be probably the lesser of all evils there.
Yeah, I think that would be the one.
Uh,
All right, now on to Saw X.
I think the radiation trap would have been, I mean, it sucks to have to bash your hand and your foot, but it probably would have been better than ripping pieces of my brain out and my leg off. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I could talk big and say I could saw off my own leg, but I actually
Like at
and
the bone.
now but no, I actually and you're gonna laugh because you probably didn't think about this. I definitely know I would survive the bloodboarding
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I
because
guess I didn't think of that as one of the traps because it
it
was
technically
his.
is a trap. So yeah, I
Yeah.
would survive the
Mm,
bloodboarding.
yeah.
Even beyond just
Turn your head, which I don't know why
yeah,
they didn't do.
yeah, well, they probably couldn't. I think that neck thing probably had them like in a way that they couldn't turn their head. That's usually how waterboarding works, last I checked.
Yeah.
But even so, I think I can handle it just because I'm also a swimmer, and also
Yeah.
yeah, and I also just know that when it's coming, I just try my best to just hold my breath, just
Well, I was gonna say that for we changed the rules on it, but we saw 6, the breath holding, I would have been able to survive that because he's a
yeah,
smoker and I'm not.
exactly.
So you're right, like probably
Yeah,
bloodboarding would have been
yeah,
a better
bloodboarding. There
choice.
you go.
You're like too late, you locked in. Now you gotta do the radiation test.
And
No!
oh,
Shoot!
all right. There we go. That was fun. That was fun. All right. So everyone, give your comments on there. Like what saw trap do you think you could handle pretty well? So, and for us, that is at least until Saw 11 comes along. That is our Saw breakdown for Legacies of Fear. So, any final thoughts before we bid adieu?
No, this was fun, and I thank you for having me and everybody for listening.
Yeah, this was great, and hopefully one day we'll discover some other franchise, or even if there's ever any other topic you want to talk about, we can more than happily just do that.
Cool.
So as I promised in the last one, I would tell everyone some of the stuff I've seen recently. So um, previously I did talk about that I did go see Smile 2, and that I actually did consider it. I actually did consider it to be better than the first, even though I hated the first one. So that's
I'm
not saying
excited about
much.
that thing because I enjoyed the first one and I'm excited to see the sequel.
Yeah, people who follow the podcast know why I had personal feelings about that one, but
Mhm.
we're not talking about that one now. The ones I actually did finally sit down and watch Alexander Aja's 2006 remake of The Hills Have Eyes. I just watched that yesterday. That was really freaking good. And I'm saying this as someone who actually I do like I actually will say The Hills Have Eyes, the original, is one of Wes Craven's. It was like the first real indicator that he's a great freaking director. But even I can acknowledge there are some flaws with that original film. But I will say Alexander Aja's Redo, on a bare bones level, it's the same movie, but he added so much more nuance to it, which really made it a worthwhile remake. Like it was one that really justified its existence as being a legit good remake. So
Mhm.
I don't know. Have you seen that one?
Not the remake. I've only seen the originals.
Yeah, the remake is really freaking good. I was really
Cool.
surprised by how good that is. Also, the cast is great. The scenes and they do like I said, it's beat for beat like the same movie, but the way they restage and the way they reconceive and the way they visualize everything is disturbing on its own level, which is really well done. So definitely got to give a big credit there. And I also on Shudder, a movie called Mads just came out, which the film is it's one of those films that's done entirely in one continuous camera shot. Uh, it's it's definitely a film that's worth watching just to see like, oh my God, this whole thing's in one continuous camera shot. So you're like wondering how the hell they do that. The film is kind of about a kid who just scores some drugs on the day of his birthday, but pretty much as soon as he gets in the car after having a toke, like all of a sudden everything just starts going to hell. And
Mm.
so the early part of the movie is like you're wondering, is this real or is this just like his own tweaker mind? But as the movie goes on, you kind of discover like, no, all hell is literally breaking loose.
Just
And
bad coincidence.
yeah, just bad coincidence. So
Damn.
it's a pretty wild watch. I mean, it's definitely one I would definitely recommend people to watch just to see that, oh my God, they made this whole movie in one continuous camera shot. It's
Wow.
done really, really well. I just don't see it as a movie I'm going to watch over and over again. And apart from that, I also watched the both Happy Death Day to You movies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Those are great movies.
they are fun. They are
Yeah,
so much fun.
they are.
Uh, and I will say I live for, I think it is pretty much my ultimate death. Like I want the final frame of my life to be me jumping in my skivvies out of a plane, just flipping off an imaginary camera. Just that.
What a way to go.
I laughed so freaking hard. Jessica Roth is so pretty. She is
Yeah,
so awesome in those.
she is fun, yeah.
She is great, and she's also really damn good in Boy Kills World. If you haven't seen that yet,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, she friggin' slays in that movie. So, for everybody, what franchise do you want us to break down next? Go ahead and leave it in the comments section. And in the meantime, if you wish to delve deep into the dark bowels of human imagination, ask yourself the simple question: what's in the podcast?
Thank you for joining us on this edition of What's in the Podcast. If you find yourself hungry for more deep cuts into the gloriously morbid and macabre, you can also find us on TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube at Narcotic Casserole. You can also follow us on Instagram at Narcotic Casserole 25. Also on Twitter. Yes, Twitter. Elon can suck it. At Narcotic Casser 1. NARCOTICCASSER 1. Follow us if you dare.